I was born in White City in 1924. You may have heard of White City, a little village, all white houses. And I was born in the upstairs room of that house. We had a company nurse then that visited all companies, and you may have heard about her. And so that was who was with Mother, and she called Dr. Reed, who was one of our first doctors, and told him to come. So he said he'd be right there. But Dr. Reed had a real love of chatting and visiting, so he visited along the way. And when he got there, I was already here, but that's that was my beginnings here in Kingsport.
He was in World War I. He was in the mechanical area, keeping the trucks running. So when he got out, he got a job with Studebaker in North Fork, West Virginia. That's West Virginia. Most people say, "You mean Norfolk, don't you?" And I said, "No, North Fork, West Virginia." That's where the town is down on the railroad track, and the cows have short legs on one side to go around the hill. But anyway, he worked for Studebaker, and Studebaker was going to open up a dealership in Kingsport. And so he put his name in and got it. So we moved from North Fork, West Virginia to Kingsport in 1925 in a Studebaker with side curtains. And I had a brother, and Mom and Dad, the four of us came to Kingsport. And we arrived in here in 1925. The building that was built for the Studebaker dealership is down at Lovedale. You know where Lovedale is, down below Jackson School? On the curve down there's a building. Well, that was the Studebaker dealership. So we moved into a home on Charlemont Street. It was a real old house. And then we moved from there, we moved down into what we call Severe Terrace, which is Sullivan Street now. And so we lived on 4 houses in there. And because I said, "Daddy, why are we moving so often?" He said, "Well, the rent was due and we had to move to another house." But anyway, the Studebaker dealership was there. We hit the deep depression in 1929, 1930. Well, they had to close it. Most of his cars were sold over in the coal mines. And they had to go over and gather the cars up and bring them back in, so they closed down the dealership. Well, when they closed it down in 1931, he was saying, "What am I going to do?" Well, he noticed one thing, which was the key to the whole system. You got the press, you got the Eastman, you got the glass plants, you got the paper company, you got the Hossa mills, the board mill. All of those could not compete into the Northeast because railroads it took a week to get, or 10 days to get stuff up there. So he went around and talked to the traffic managers and said, "Well, if you had service for a couple of days, say into Philadelphia, into New York, or into Scranton, Pennsylvania, would that help you sell that market?" And they said, "Yes, it would." He said, "Well, I think I'm going to start a truck line." So he found 2 other people, and each bought a truck, a tractor and a trailer. And Daddy didn't drive his. He had his brother drive his. So they started out with an 18-foot trailer and a tractor with a bed behind the driver, just like you see the highway with it now. So that's how it started. So in Tennessee, they would not accept a tractor and trailer, but Virginia would. So when you went out, you had to go to Gate City to stay within 7 miles of Tennessee, which they allowed you to do, and then go the back road up and into the north without that. So when he got up, he said, "You can't make business if you're going to be empty one way. I have got to get freight coming back out of those places." Well, he said SS Crest, main office was in New York. And they got a load going into New York. So he got in his car and went up to meet with the traffic manager of SS Crest. Well, he got up there and it was late, but he went down to a store and bought a brand new suit. And he got in bed and got up the next morning, it was pouring down rain. He didn't have money to ride the cab, so he walked up there. He got wet and the suit started shrinking up. He got in to see the traffic manager, and he told him what he was doing and what he wanted. He said, Mr. King, anybody that would jump in a car and drive up here to see me, go down and buy a new suit, I know it's a new suit, and it's shrinking up on you, I'll load every one of your trucks back to the South again. So I started a two-way transportation in that. In 1939, one man wanted to sell out, so they bought him out. And then a year later, the other man wanted to sell out, so Daddy bought it at that time. It was all the King family then that owned it until it was sold in 1983. It was named Mason-Dixon by Daddy's mother. You're crossing the famous Mason-Dixon Line. It said you're now joining the North and the South. That was our sign with Lee and Grant shaking hands on the side of all of our equipment. So that's the way Mason-Dixon started. It turned out that we were all pretty well all the way to the middle of the state of the United States. And it turned out to be the #1 size by family owned. And it was 14th in size in the United States. And we decided at the time, we had an offer to sell it in 1983, and we sold it, and they got in problems with the union. And difficulty led to where the Mason-Dixon was no more. We had a tank line division that covered all 48 states. We had a special commodity division, which is a flatbed trailer, that covered all 48 states. And it was a wonderful company. Employees were the biggest asset we had in the family, in the company. So that's how we ended up in Kingsport. And our sister was born down on Sullivan Street, where we lived in the last house down there before we moved up to Limble Street. And that's where I saw Jane, met Jane.
Several years later, yeah. Matter of fact, your trucking company was out of your house, wasn't it? And the driver slept at your house.
The truck line was started in our driveway. And my brother was Bill. And when the trucks started out and they had to transfer from a tractor trailer to a single unit, we had to transfer that freight. Bill and I would transfer it. We had to wash the trucks. And Mama had to feed the drivers and had to sleep them in it. And that's where we started until we moved up in Clay Street and Market Street, which is downtown operation. Back in those days, the streets weren't paved. A lot of them weren't paved. Market wasn't paved. The main road was the center street that takes you between the press and the paper company was all gravel. And all the traffic from moving through Kingsport came up through the middle of Kingsport, all the way back out to Brook Circle, back over the mountain there, and all the way up to Blumville, to Bristol, Abingdon, Marion, to start with. But Kingsport was a wonderful place to be on Saturday in downtown Kingsport. So we had a Popeye Club at the State Theater, and they give you a birthday cake if your birthday was that. So we go over there.
All the boys went. All half the town went.
But we had all the famous stores in like SS Crest, Woolworths, the main that would draw people into the downtown area, which we don't have now for the downtown area.
All the country people would come in. It was wonderful because it was such a safe place to live when I was growing up. And we could go anywhere without worrying. We could even, we rode our bikes to town and thought nothing of it. And it was just great. And on Saturdays, the country people would come in town and they would all squat around. I don't know why they squatted, but they would squat and visit with each other on the streets. Spit a little tobacco juice here and there. You had to be a little careful. And have a great time talking. And we'd go to Cress's and buy candy, penny candy, with our friends. And it was a great, safe place, and everybody knew everybody, and it was a great place to grow up. There'll never be another safe, happy, to have an innocent childhood growing up. It was a great place.
We used to have the circus that would come to Kingsport, and they would come in and unload their animals and all at the railroad station. And they would come down to Clay Street and Market Street and set up the carnival, the circus. One of the first jobs I had was to water the elephants. And I never got them watered. They wet me down with the water. but
You got in
that
free.
was a lot of fun.